So in the previous videos, we used some of the data definition modules in Access, basically Access tools, to build and define data tables. So we defined from scratch, created from scratch our advising notes table. We imported from Excel our faculty table and customize it, changing some of the fields and some of the definitions. And now I didn't do the students table, and the idea is that you did it on your own. And now you have, in addition to the advising notes and faculty table, you now have the students table in your Access database that we created in the beginning. So in order to make sure that you created the right table and everything is correct, let's go to Access and review the students table that you're supposed to have by now, and then proceed with with defining relations in Access. We're back to Microsoft Access, and we finished our last video with faculty tables. So we had 2 tables, and now I hope you will have 3 tables in your database. So obviously hopefully we've added the students table. So let's double click on that, and I'll just show you the table to make sure everything is correct, and so that you can compare and make sure you have the right table. So this is what the table looks like. This is what the actual data values look like. So this is the basically here we have the same information that the Excel spreadsheet has, minus faculty data, except for faculty ID. We keep faculty ID, and we remove all other columns related to faculty specifically. And here, as you may notice, the Droid column has basically different look. It's not yes or no. It's check on, check, check. Basically, you have a list of checks, and I'm going to show you how you create that in case you haven't figured that out yet. But this is the actual data. We can change the view, fields view, and this is our data fields, and we can review here what I've done so that you can basically replicate this. So the field names are going to be different in the Excel spreadsheet, so I hope you renamed everything as it is here. And then your primary key is student ID, and let's see the field size for each of the fields. So faculty ID is short text. Well, all of them are short text except for the Droid, which is yes or no, a binary indicator. And faculty ID field size is 10. Student ID is, well, student ID is supposed to be 10, 2. That's fixed now. So then first name is 15. Last name is also 15. So nickname can be also 15. Allegiance 20. Droid yes or no. Doesn't have specific length. So additional information 75. There can be additional details. And then email is 30. Street number 20. City 15. And state 2, a binary indicator. And the zip code is 5. We have 5 characters in for this field. Remember, we're not treating this as a number because it doesn't make any sense to multiply or divide zip codes. You can divide 2 zip codes and the number will be meaningless. So this is what the fields, how the fields should be defined. And if we go back to yes, I want to save it because I changed field size, and this is what your data should look like. And from here on, we are going to proceed to defining the relations between our table. Now let's add relationships to our table. So in order to do that, we go to Database Tools tab and click on Relationships. So in here on the right, we're going to have all our tables listed. In this case, we have 3 tables. So select all of them, left click, hold Shift, and then left click on the one at the bottom. Then Add selected here on your right hand side at the bottom. So let's reorganize these in the order in which they appear in our relational schema. So there it is. We can change the size of these rectangles. And now we need to define relationships, how they are related. And they're connected by specific variable. And this is where our primary key steps in. So the way we define this is basically just click on the primary key and drag it to the other table and release. And it says here that faculty is connected to student by faculty ID. And we need to check and force referential integrity so that every student is connected to some faculty ID, because otherwise it may be connected to an empty row. We need to make sure that both tables are consistent. So there is, for every faculty ID, there is a student, and for every student, there is a faculty ID. So check this one and hit create. And just by looking at the data, Excel knows that it's one too many. And because it sees that the same faculty shows up several times for students here, for each student. So it knows it's one too many. Now, same process here. We just drag it and drop. And same thing here, enforce referential integrity. And Excel knows the same thing, that every student will have multiple meetings, most likely. Now, in this meetings table, we make each line unique by having student ID and meeting date as our primary key identifier. So this is how we know. Otherwise, we would just have, if it was just student, for example, we would have multiple students and same student showing up multiple times, and we wouldn't know which one is which. But if we narrow it down to student and date, we can basically narrow it down to specific meeting. And the table knows that we have one student here in the list of students. Obviously, it's a unique list of students, but this student shows up multiple times here. So it knows it's one too many. Sometimes you may get an error when you try to create these. And that could happen in those cases where you don't define these primary keys in the same way in both tables. So in both tables, faculty ID must be defined as short text size 10. If it was defined in one with different, if it had different sizes in different tables, we may run into error. And if it was defined as a number or short text in one table and long text in the other table, we would again run into a problem. So make sure that if an error pops up, make sure that your primary keys are defined exactly the same in each table. All right, so now that we've created our relationships, we need to save it. Here, the relationships are saved. You can close it, but we can go back to database tools, click on the relationship, and it will show up here. We can always click on this and hit delete on the keyboard, or right click and delete, or edit to change anything. But this is how we save it, close, and we can always, as I said, can go back to database tools and relationship. All right, so back to our relational schema. So we have successfully implemented our relational schema in Microsoft Access, and we have data properly organized and tables properly connected. And in the future tutorials, we'll learn how to submit queries and create forms and reports from this data. So we will be interacting with the database that we created. So we'll see you there.